If you can understand this video, then your English listening skills are incredible, because I'm going to be telling you a short story and I'm going to be speaking at a very natural pace. Now, there is going to be a bit of a beach-related background noise as well, and as mentioned, I'm not going to be slowing down. This is how I would speak to one of my friends. So if you can understand this, then that's a very realistic test of what it's going to be like when you actually speak to a native British person when you're on the beach. Okay, so I'm going to be telling you a story, and from this story, I'm going to get 5 lessons that I can teach you and that you will be able to apply to your English learning journey. So these are 5 lessons that I learned from starting, running and closing down my first business. So I started the YouTube about 3.5 years ago, and before that I was running another business for about 2 years, and that business was called Denim Fago. And here I reworked vintage Levi's jeans and sold them online. Before we get into this, I forgot to say there will be some advanced native vocabulary in this story, and everything will be included in a free PDF and the links in the top comment. Okay, back to the story. So basically, I'll put some photos on the screen of these jeans that I made, but I would get these jeans, I'd buy them in bulk, in wholesale, and I would redesign each one. I had paint ones, I had bleach ones, I had patchwork ones. They were really good, to be honest with you. So I did this for 2 years. For the first 6 months, it was so slow. So it was during COVID. If you're wondering why I started it, it's because it was at the start of COVID, and everyone in the UK was on lockdown, I think it was called, where you just couldn't leave your house, especially at the start. And I was just in my house, I was in my room, and I had a sewing machine there and some old jeans. So it was a very organic start to this business. And I basically took about 4 months to build up a collection of 15 different pairs, and I decided to launch after those 4 months. So the promotion was mainly on Instagram. I was working so unbelievably hard on this thing. So I was just so motivated. Plus I just finished university as well, so I was just so keen to make this work. Basically, I was working all day, every day, and I'm not exaggerating there, for 3 to 4 months getting this launch ready. I finally launched, I had a massive countdown, and I had 15 pairs for sale. Do you want to guess how many pairs I sold during that huge launch? None. I didn't sell any pairs, and it was devastating. Imagine working so hard on something, unbelievably hard on something, and it was almost embarrassing as well, because I put out so much promotion everywhere, like the drops this day, the drops this day, 5 days to go, 4 days to go, 3 days to go, 2 days to go. I told all my friends and family, and no one bought anything. It was bad. It was bad. It was slightly demotivating, but it's all good, because I was down in the dumps. I was a bit discouraged for a few days, sulking a bit, but then I was like, you know what? Okay, whatever. That's fine. That's fine. We just need to switch platforms. And for a few months, it was still very hard work and no sales. And then I remember when I sold my first pair, and this is a true story. I sold my first pair. It was at about 11 p.m., maybe like a Tuesday night. And the next day, my mouth hurt because of how much I was smiling the night before, having sold my first pair of jeans, having made my first sale. That's how much it meant to me. And then it was very slow for the first 6 months. Like maybe I'd sell like 1 pair every 2 weeks. It was terrible, to be honest with you. But I kept going, I kept going, I kept going, I kept going. Then eventually, in the space of like 1 night, everything changed. Suddenly I launched this new range of jeans, and I started doing photography a bit differently as well. And then I sold like 3 pairs overnight, and I couldn't believe it. And then the next day I sold 2 pairs and 3 pairs, 4 pairs, 5 pairs, and suddenly it just took off. And I just couldn't believe it. I was so unbelievably happy and grateful. So that was the start of it. And then fast forward about a year, the sales have been going well, and I decided to get my own office. I had an office space in the north of England. It was a studio. It was actually really nice and like quite affordable, because it's in the north of England, and everything, especially property, is so much cheaper up there. We're in Korea, by the way, if you're wondering what this beach is. I bet you didn't know that Korea had beaches like this, because I didn't, to be honest. Yeah, this is a Gwangali beach, I think it's called. It's really nice. I might go for a dip afterwards. Anyway, I moved into the studio space, and that's when stuff got serious, because all of a sudden, I was running it from home before, but now all of a sudden I have overheads. Okay, I need to pay, I can't remember how much the rent was. I think it was about £700 a month, and I was locked in for a year. So not nothing. I had to sell some pairs. And I also invested so much money in stock, and I had my own custom labels made. badges, packaging and stuff like that. It looked really good, and it was good. Anyway, we're in the studio now, and everything is going supposedly quite well. I was selling more pairs, but my expenses were so much higher that I wasn't really making that much more profit at all, to be honest. And there was a lot more pressure as well, because now I had to make the sales, or else had all these expenses. I didn't really have any other choice. So I was working harder than ever, and I was enjoying it so much less as well. And we're about a year and a half into the 2-year career of Denim Fago. This is when I was getting a bit sick of it all and looking to move on. If you watched my video 2 days ago about how I became a YouTuber, you'd know that this is around the time that I decided to start teaching English and teach on YouTube. So that's why I transitioned from the jeans to the YouTube. So eventually it came to a very natural close. The tenancy on the studio ended after a year, and that marked about 2 years of working relentlessly every single day, all day, every day. And I'm not joking there. I'm not exaggerating when I say that I was working all day, every day. It's the hardest I've ever worked on anything in my entire life. Yeah, and that's pretty much the story. I know it's a bit of an anticlimactic ending, but honestly, I've written down the 5 lessons that I want to teach you that you can then apply to your English learning journey. So number 1, tenacity, and accepting in advance that you're going to take L's. So firstly, if you have tenacity, if you're tenacious, it means that you can keep going even when things get hard. You're resilient. And if you take an L is kind of like a bit of a slang word, just means like a loss. It means something bad has happened to you. So me doing a launch and not selling any pairs, that's an L. I took an L there. Anyway, so it doesn't matter what you're trying to achieve. Learning English, for example, it's going to be hard, and you're going to have setbacks. You're going to have moments where you're like, oh my God, I feel so confident speaking now. And then you're going to go into a cafe and the barista's going to say, hi mate, what do you want? And you're going to completely mess up your order. Or I think a more realistic scenario is that you felt confident speaking to one person, then you speak to someone else at work, one of your friends, one of your colleagues, whatever, and you just can't understand them. And you have this type of conversation where you're constantly like, what? Oh yeah, sorry, my English. And you're just apologizing for your English. So that is going to be demotivating and discouraging, the same way that me doing that launch and getting no sales was. So you're going to have to be resilient, and you're going to have to accept that there are going to be moments like that in anything. So many times running this YouTube channel, I've had massive failures, and with the jeans, of course, and in your own life, you will have had them as well. Whenever you're trying to achieve something, you are going to take L's. It's that simple. And learning English is no exception to that rule. Okay, number 2, you need to know how to work. And by this, I mean 2 different things. So firstly, a very practical approach is when you actually sit down to work or study English, actually do it properly. Have a timer, maybe like half an hour, 1 hour, an hour and a half. I think anything over that in one block gets a bit excessive and you're unable to focus. And actually work. Put your phone on the other side of the room. Don't be like working a bit and working a bit, check it. No, throw your phone away, the other side of the room, and actually work. That's something I did not do with my business, Denim Fago. I'd be like sewing and also watching an episode of The Simpsons on my laptop there, and also like checking my phone and then sewing. It didn't work. You spend more time doing something, and the quality of your results are lower as well. So that's one thing. And also another thing that's so important is knowing what to work on. So for my personal example, I was spending a lot of time on just like making my Depop store look nice or my Instagram store look nice, when really I should have been doing marketing. I should have been getting more people in, because there's no one to look at the Instagram shop or the website unless you tell the people about it. So there's no point in me making it look nice. And I wasted too much time doing that type of thing. So for you, say if you're trying to improve your speaking abilities or just sound more fluent in general, you could work for 2 hours and you could work very, very deeply. But if you're just learning advanced vocabulary, of course that's going to be useful and you will need that at some point, but you need to address the thing that you're trying to work on at that moment. So if you really want to learn how to speak fluently, you need to practice speaking to people. Okay, a great way to do that, by the way, is I have a community where there are 7 live calls every week. You can practice speaking with me and other learners. I wasn't planning on putting this advert there, but the link's in the top comment. There's a 7-day free trial. Anyway, the point I was trying to make is identify the problem that you want to solve, whatever your goal is, and focus on that. Don't focus on stuff that's adjacent to that, okay? Third point, take a step back. If you're struggling and you're working extremely hard and you just have like, your mind is here, just taking a day away and going into nature, it's not only healing, but it's also quite tactical as well. So I guess if you're learning English and you're really struggling with it, or maybe you're learning something else or trying something else not related to English, but I know if you're watching this, you're going to be learning, right? Just take a step back, just go into nature for a day. Even if you're not learning English, just take a day and go into nature. That is just going to be a positive no matter what. With the slim exception of you getting literally eaten by a bear, you spending a day in nature is going to benefit your life. Quick vibe check. This beach is so nice. Honestly, the sand is burning my feet because I have my socks on, but it's all good. I need to film more videos on a beach, I reckon. Ow, 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 ow. Number 4. Don't spend good money on bad. This is such a good expression. Don't spend good money on bad. It's also called the sunk cost fallacy. And it's basically when you invest into something, whether it's your time or your money or your effort, don't keep doing that thing just because of the prior investment you've made. If it doesn't make sense to keep doing it, then it isn't the right move. So I put so much time and money and effort into running this business, but I was no longer enjoying it and I wanted to move on. Me putting good money into bad would be me continuing that business even though I didn't want to because of the prior work that I put in, okay? And it's just this idea that you don't want to, the work you put in, you don't want that to go to waste, so you keep doing this thing even though you know that you shouldn't. And this applies everywhere, okay? So once again, this doesn't just have to apply to your English learning journey. I feel like this is a bit more general than that, but it's a good tip to have. Right, and the 5th one, this is so important, and I absolutely love this one. It's this idea that hard work is never wasted. So if you work really hard on something and it still you don't achieve what it was you wanted to achieve, that time and that effort you put in was not a waste, because you will have picked up all of these skills just in the process. So the hard work, it's not what you get from it sometimes, it's the person you become in the process. I know that sounds a bit cheesy and a bit cliche, but it's honestly so true. So when I was running the business, I was doing this for 2 years and I probably lost money on it. Overall, I genuinely probably lost money on it. So you could argue, oh wow, 2 years of your life wasted running a business and you didn't make any money. I thought the point of running a business was to make money, right? But to be honest with you, at the time I did kind of feel that, but now that as a bit of time passed and I started doing YouTube, I realized I picked up so many skills along the way of failing running that business that I can apply to here and just to my day-to-day life as well. And it will be the same with you, any sort of challenge, but for you in particular, learning English. On those days where you feel discouraged, where you feel as if you haven't made any progress, or even worse, you've gone back and you're like, oh, I'm just never going to be able to get this, I'm never going to be able to get this. Just remember that no, hard work is never wasted. If you invest an hour into learning something and you don't see the results right away, it is doing something, it is compounding, you are learning these skills in the background. So that's my story and the 5 lessons I have there. I guess the highlight of that, not the highlight, but one of the cool things was as I was closing the business, the official Levi's Instagram page with like all these millions of followers liked one of my photos. I guess that's kind of like a very small claim to fame that I have from the Denim Fago days. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one, guys. So as mentioned, I used a lot of native vocabulary there. So I have made a free PDF to go with this lesson. The link's in the top comment. And as mentioned, this video is really going to be amazing for your listening skills. However, I understand that some of you may be struggling with speaking as well. And that's a real problem because very few people, or there are a lot of people that don't have anyone to practice with. That's why I started my community that I mentioned earlier. You get 7 live calls a week with me, and it's a small but really fun, active group. We have an accent specialist. It's just a great place to be, and you can practice speaking all the time. And there's a link in the top comment with a 7-day free trial. That trial will not last for much longer, so if you are curious, if you want to try it, why not? It's completely free. Okay guys, I posted a very similar video to this one, which I'll put on the screen here. If you did enjoy this one, please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below, all of that YouTube stuff. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you guys soon. All right, adios, goodbye.